What if one skipped maintenance could slowly kill your engine from the inside out? Oil is your engine's lifeblood, but leave it unchanged long enough and it turns from a protective fluid into a sticky black death sentence. It clogs narrow oil passages, it smothers bearings, and it creates thick sludge that strangles everything from pistons to camshafts. And the result? Catastrophic failure that can total your engine long before the odometer even hits 6 figures. In this video, we're diving deep into what really happens if you ignore oil changes. Not just what the manual says, but the mechanical horrors that technicians see when drivers push their luck. We'll explore the science of sludge, and the expensive truth that most people learn way too late. Stick around and hit subscribe, because what you don't know about dirty oil could destroy your engine and your wallet. Now, before we dive into the disaster zone, let's talk basics. What does engine oil actually do? Well, think of it as your engine's full-time bodyguard. Every time your pistons fire, metal grinds against metal at thousands of revolutions per minute. Engine oil coats these moving parts with a thin film to reduce friction, prevent overheating, and stop premature wear. But that's just the beginning. Oil also cleans. It picks up microscopic metal shavings, carbon deposits, and combustion byproducts, carrying them away from critical parts and into the oil filter. It also cools your engine a little bit. By absorbing and distributing heat, oil keeps engine temperature stable where coolant can't reach. And it seals. It fills tiny gaps between piston rings and cylinder walls to preserve compression and prevent blow-by. Now, here's the catch. Oil doesn't stay good forever. Over time, it breaks down, oxidizes, and gets contaminated. Detergents and additives wear out, so sludge starts to form. And once that happens, the oil can no longer do its job, turning your engine into a ticking time bomb. So what happens when you ignore this process entirely? Well, that's where things get ugly. Fast. So, you've gone 5,000 miles without an oil change. No big deal, right? Well, maybe not yet. At this point, most modern synthetic oils are still holding on, but barely. Under the hood, subtle damage is already beginning. Here's what's happening. Oil begins to break down. The additives that fight wear, clean deposits, and neutralize acids start to degrade. Contaminants accumulate. Tiny little metal particles from engine wear, unburned fuel, moisture, and soot begin to mix in. Viscosity in the oil changes. It gets thicker, stickier, and less effective at circulating through tiny engine passages. And microscopic sludge starts forming. It's not visible yet, but it's already clinging to engine internals. And if you do a lot of short trips or drive in hot or dusty conditions, the damage is even worse. The engine never fully warms up, moisture doesn't evaporate, and the oil ages much faster. The key takeaway, at 5,000 miles, your engine might feel fine, but the damage is already in motion. This is the critical point where preventative maintenance keeps your engine young, or lets it slowly rot from the inside. Neglect it much longer and that next stage isn't just dirty, it's destructive. Now, by 10,000 miles without an oil change, you're officially driving on borrowed time. The clean, golden oil that your engine once relied on, it's now a black, sticky cocktail of carbon, metal shavings, fuel residue, and moisture. And it's no longer circulating freely. It's clinging to engine parts, forming the dreaded enemy of all engines, sludge. But what exactly is sludge? It's a thick, tar-like gunk that sticks to vital engine components like lifters, camshafts, and crankshafts. It clogs narrow oil passages, starving parts of lubrication, traps in heat, causing overheating and accelerated wear, and it won't go away easily. Even an oil change at this point might not remove all of it. So, at this stage, your engine's oil filter is probably completely saturated, forcing the engine to bypass it altogether. That means unfiltered oil, filled with debris, is now flowing directly through your engine. Engines with variable valve timing, VVT, turbochargers, or direct injection are especially vulnerable. Sludge can block the tiny oil ports that these systems rely on, leading to catastrophic failure. And here's the kicker. You might not even notice that anything's wrong until your check engine light flashes on, or your engine suddenly seizes on the freeway. Neglecting oil changes this long isn't stretching your dollar. It's burning thousands in future repairs. And now, if you've managed to hit 15,000 miles without an oil change, you're in the danger zone, and your engine knows it. By now, internal temperatures are running hotter. The oil, or at least what's left of it, can no longer lubricate the moving parts properly. And here's where things start to snowball into irreversible damage. Number 1. Accelerated metal-on-metal wear. Without effective lubrication, metal components grind directly against each other. Your pistons, your camshaft lobes, your crankshaft bearings, and valve train are all under assault. This friction shaves off microscopic metal particles, which mix into the oil and turn it into a liquid sandpaper that speeds up wear even more. Number 2. Overheating becomes a threat. The oil's cooling function is long gone by now. The buildup of sludge and oxidized oil creates insulating layers that trap heat in the engine. So you may start noticing engine ticking or knocking sounds, a loss in power, or strange burning smells. And if your cooling system isn't perfect, this can tip your engine into thermal breakdown. Warping parts, melting seals, and frying sensors. Number 3, engine timing is at risk. If your vehicle uses VVT, dirty oil and sludge will cause valves to stick or misfire. This leads to engine misfires, rough idling, and permanent timing system damage. Now at this point, the engine's life expectancy is shrinking fast. And the worst part, a standard oil change won't fix any of this. You're now looking at repairs in the 4-figure range. And now, 20,000 miles or more. At this point, you're not driving a car. You're driving a ticking time bomb. The oil inside your engine has transformed into a sludge so thick, it can no longer circulate at all. The pump might still be turning, but there's barely anything flowing through the channels. And now, critical engine components are suffocating. Here's what starts to fail, fast. Number 1, oil starvation. Parts like the crankshaft bearings, camshafts, lifters, and turbochargers, if equipped, are running dry. And once these parts lose oil pressure, they overheat and warp within minutes. When bearings go, the crankshaft can seize, and that's just the end of your engine. Number 2, valve train failure. Sludge chokes the top end of the engine. Hydraulic lifters collapse, valves stick, camshaft lobes wear flat, and the result? A misfire, rattling mess that barely runs, or doesn't even start at all. Number 3, blown head gasket or total seizure. Without proper oil flow and cooling, engine temperatures spike, leading to blown head gaskets, warped heads, or complete engine seizure. At this stage, the engine block might crack from heat stress, and that's no longer a repair anymore, it's a full replacement or a trip to the junkyard. And here's the cruel irony. Many of these engines fall suddenly and without warning. No check engine light, no obvious signs, just a loud clunk and then silence. And the cost, anywhere from $3,000 to $10 grand, assuming you don't need a new vehicle entirely. So, what exactly turns once clean oil into a killer sludge? Well, to understand that, we need to dive into the science of tribology, the study of friction, wear, and lubrication. What researchers have discovered in recent years paints a much darker picture of what happens inside your engine when you skip oil changes. Let's start with solid particle contamination. Over time, as the oil breaks down, it becomes saturated with metal shavings like iron, aluminum, and copper, as well as silica from dust and gasket materials. According to a study, even microscopic levels of these hard particles increase friction exponentially, and the result? Abrasive wear. Tiny scratches that gradually erode cylinder walls, cam lobes, and bearings. Think of it as internal sandpaper that never stops grinding. But there's more. Most modern oils rely on ZDDP, zinc dilkildithiophosphate, an anti-wear additive that forms a protective film on metal surfaces. Research from MDPI shows that this compound depletes with time and heat exposure. Once it's gone, metal parts are left vulnerable, and wear accelerates dramatically. Meanwhile, constant exposure to high temperatures and vacuum conditions inside the engine oxidize the oil, producing varnish and carbon deposits. These sticky residues clog narrow oil passages, stick to valve guides, and even bake onto piston rings. Studies show that once varnish forms, it resists even high-pressure flushes, creating long-term flow restrictions and poor heat dissipation. In short, old oil doesn't just stop protecting your engine, it actively destroys it. Skipping out on oil changes turns your engine into a lab experiment in mechanical decay, and the damage is cumulative. Now, I get it, it's easy to put off an oil change. $50 here, $90 there, but what most drivers don't realize is that every skipped oil change increases the odds of a multi-$1,000 disaster. Sludge isn't just dirty, it's destructive, and cleaning up after it is no small task. When sludge forms, many drivers try an engine flush, but these chemical cleaners are often too little too late. In severe cases, flushing can actually dislodge hardened sludge in chunks, which will then block vital oil passages or damage bearings. At best, you'll need multiple cleanings. At worst, the engine locks up, and from here, the repair costs climb quickly. A clogged oil pickup tube means pulling the oil pan, which is pretty labor intensive. A sludged oil pump starves the engine of pressure, which means replacement is required. And failed piston rings or head gaskets, now you're looking at a partial or full engine rebuild. On average, dealing with sludge-related damage costs around $2,500 to $6,000. Depending on how far the damage is spread, and that is if your engine is even salvageable. According to the Motorist Assurance Program, engine life expectancy can drop by 50% or more due to sludge. And here's the kicker: manufacturer warranties are often voided if oil change records are missing. That $30 neglect might cost you your warranty. Even worse, a sludged engine tanks resale value. Most buyers and dealers will actually walk away the second they see darkened dipsticks or carbon-stained valve covers. Bottom line, skipping oil changes is a false economy. The savings are short-term, but the damage is permanent. By now, you've seen what happens when you ignore oil changes: sludge, wear, and engine carnage. But here's the good news: every bit of this is preventable, and it starts with staying ahead of the damage. First, let's talk intervals. Now, the old 3,000 mile rule is outdated, especially for modern engines and synthetic oils. Most manufacturers today recommend 5,000 to 7,500 miles for regular oil, and 7,500 to 10,000 miles for full synthetic. But here's the catch: if you drive under severe conditions, you're constantly making short trips, you're constantly in stop-and-go traffic, you're towing, or you're driving in extreme weather, you'll need to change it way more often. According to Popular Mechanics, severe duty cycles can cut recommended intervals in half, and oil type does matter. Conventional oil breaks down quicker and leaves more deposits. So if you drive a turbocharged or direct injection or high mileage engine, synthetic is a must. It resists oxidation, holds viscosity longer, and suspends contaminants better. Next, don't just drive short distances. Your engine needs time to heat up fully, around 15 minutes of driving, to evaporate moisture and prevent internal condensation, which contributes to sludge. If you're just making short trips, then that gunk never really gets a chance to burn off. And what about oil quality? Well, use the right grade and don't skimp on the brand. Inferior oils can break down quicker and leave more carbon behind. Also, make sure your PCV, positive crankcase ventilation system, is working properly. A clogged PCV valve traps blow-by gases in the crankcase, accelerating sludge buildup. And for maximum protection, consider periodic oil analysis. Lab tests can detect metal particles, coolant leaks, and oxidation before visible damage ever appears. It's like a blood test for your engine, and it's surprisingly affordable. Sludge isn't some myth or a scare tactic. It's real, and it destroys engines from the inside out. It starts small, but once it takes hold, it's nearly impossible to remove without disassembling your engine. But with regular oil changes and a bit of smart maintenance, you can add years to your engine's life, protect your investment, and avoid 5-figure repair bills down the line. Your car deserves better, and so does your wallet.